What's next, please?
Oral communication, discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the redevelopment agency may question or respond to a speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff through the executive director for investigation and a report.
Thank you. I have 3 cards. Hamid Behdad.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and Honorable Council members. My name is Hamid Behdad. I'm the president of Central City Development Group in Los Angeles, and I was asked to speak a little bit about my experience, what I have done in Los Angeles, and share it with the mayor and council members in Glendale as it relates to the item which has been discussed in the closed session. For a quick introduction to myself, my office is on 1055 Wilshire Boulevard, Suite 1610. That's Los Angeles, 90017 for the record. I just recently moved from public sector to private sector after about 18 years and 31 years of experience. My primary role in the last 3 administrations during the Mayor Reardon and Mayor Hahn and Mayor Villaraigosa was that I was in charge of the real estate development in downtown Los Angeles. As perhaps all of us agree, downtown LA is going through tremendous changes, and among the changes that are facing downtown LA, one of the main ones are what we call 2 anchor projects that we are currently in the process, LA Live and Grand Avenue. Each one of them are multi-billion-dollar projects, and there's a lot of discussion has been and still is as far as how the tax rebate and public system has been working 2 projects. So, and that's what exactly I was asked to share my experience since I was intimately involved with these projects. I'd like to, again, for the matter of record, say that I'm not a paid consultant, neither am I a lobbyist. Just have been asked to share my experience, as I said. I have a package. Instead of going and describing what I've done, is I'd like to share with you, and I brought enough copy of it perhaps for everybody, and the summary of, if I can give that to City Clerk for the matter of record. 3 projects I wanted to share the example of it, which is very relevant to what apparently is in discussion in the city of Glendale. The project LA Live, I'm sure you have read in the paper and have seen it all over, is a over few billion-dollar project in Los Angeles, currently under construction. And instead of going through the minutes, I was just researching my old records, and I would like to bring to your attention, given the limitation of time, on page 4, that the LA Live, which includes a LA Convention Center hotel and the issue of tax rebate and public assistance, a project has about $82 million of tax rebate and public assistance, if you will. On the second handout, I would like to bring to your attention the Grand Avenue project, again a multi-billion-dollar project in the music center of downtown LA. And on last page of that handout, you can see that this project has almost $65 million tax rebate and public subsidy when it comes to the making such projects happen. And then finally, what the city of Glendale is facing basically as it relates to tax rebate and public assistance on anchor projects such as the item that's been discussed on the closed session, is what all of the cities, major cities in this nation, are going through. In the study that was done for us when I was in the mayor's office by Bill Fujioka, our city administrator, was that every single city in the nation, such as Chicago, Miami, Sacramento, Charlotte, North Carolina, Denver, and Houston, every time they went through an anchor project, specifically those who were involved hotels, they had tax rebate and public subsidy one way or another. Furthermore, if you flip to the second pages, you'll see a list of almost every single hotel in downtown LA which has been built in the history has enjoyed some sort of assistance or tax rebate or public subsidy. So, in the conclusion, in fact, my role here is to bring to your attention that what is happening in the city of Glendale is really not out of ordinary. It's pretty much happening in every cosmopolitan urban city in the United States of America, and perhaps throughout the world. And with that, I guess that's all I want to say, and I want, as I said, share my experience. Be more than glad to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'll take my seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Behta. Barry Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the agency, I'm Barry Allen, of course, staff and the public. I'm here as well to speak on your closed session item, and unfortunately it was a closed session item, so I really have to guess about it. But listening to the previous speaker, I think there's a lot of meat in what he said. The Amity Group has come to Glendale, and apparently, as far as I can determine, has become a good corporate citizen. With the Glenfed building, and now with the DPSS building, and their property known as the Meadows. And of course, they're wanting to build not only at the Meadows, the Meridian, but a complimentary hotel on 111 East Wilson. And that is complimentary not only to the high-end hotel, it is complimentary to the businesses in the city of Glendale. We saw in this morning's paper that Milano's Harry Hall is going to have to move because he can't afford the rent. Those prices have gone up. And just think, the hotel that is proposed at 111 East Wilson by Amity is not a full-service hotel. It's a hotel that indeed would use the products and services, the restaurants and other services provided by the business owners here in Glendale. And I think that's a big plus to the city. And I think the other big plus is that you have a corporate citizen who cares about the city. Otherwise, it wouldn't have paid more than market value for the DPSS. They wouldn't have done the things that they have done to bring in employment, high-end employment. And it's something that others aren't really doing. And attempting to get these documents has been quite a pain. These documents were requested from the redevelopment agency as to the communications that were exchanged between them and Comar and Amity, and that they provided the competitive information to the other side, the other competitor, and actually I wasn't able to determine what was provided and what was not. And that was another question. So we're hiding this. Let's keep it up in the open. Let's be fair to the merchants, and let's be fair to the people in Glendale. As to subsidies, you heard about that. And money you don't have is money you don't have. If you don't build it, you don't get TOT. Simple. If you don't have an entity, you don't get the building permit money. Those are things you don't have until the builders and developers come in. Now, we've done our Invest in Glendale program, and it's going to continue. We're looking for more people to invest in Glendale. We need to treat those investors with respect. We need them to treat us with respect. And I think that's what you're looking at with the immediate development on both of those sites. And I think that the city needs to be very cooperative to get that type of quality and that type of investment in the city of Glendale. I'm Barry Allen, and I thank you.
Thank you. Richard Espiritu, last card.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the authority, city staff, and the people of the city of Glendale. I am Dr. Richard Espiritu. Gentlemen, I think you are aware that I have been looking at the Americans with Disability Act since 2002 with the city of Glendale. I'm sure you're aware that I do read the reports. Even if I catch a missing W, I do read the reports. One of the things that I want to tell you is that several years ago, I had the opportunity to meet with a former member of the city council. He was talking about this project on the Meadows, the Amity Group. He wasn't too enthralled with it. However, I started looking at all of the projects here in the city of Glendale. I provided members of the Housing Authority and the City Council with documentations from the Department of Justice. I did look at this particular project, and I did scrutinize it very, very closely. And I want to tell you a secret. It's one of the few projects that I had a great deal of difficulty in finding anything wrong with ADA. I even discussed, and I'm going to give you a copy of this. This is from Chapter 3 from the Unruh Act about discrimination. It talked about guide dogs, signal dogs, service dogs. I looked at this. I even talked to these people regarding visual signals in hotels. One of the new guidelines that came up regarding this is ADA said, why are you putting visual signals in a hotel room when a person is asleep? Are they going to see it? No. What they recommended, and still is a recommendation by ADA, is put something under the mattress that vibrates. That's one of the issues. I would strongly recommend that if a company can go through my scrutiny of ADA in Title 23, they have the ability to do something here for the city of Glendale. I'll leave the finance to other people and all these other things because I'm going to stay with ADA. Later on in a joint meeting, I'm going to discuss another project. But I'd like to be able to provide this to the members of the Housing Authority, Mr. Kasakian. And when you have a chance after the meetings, before the City Council meeting tonight, I'd appreciate you taking a look at this document that was produced on May 16th, 1994. It was the ADA site survey. I'd like you to take a look at this, walk around. I didn't give you everything, just gave you the City Council, City Hall, and I'd like you to take a look at this because I'm going to talk about this later on this evening. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Spearman. That was the end of the oral communication. Oral communication closed. What's next, please?
Next item is agency member staff comments.
Mr. Quintero.
Yeah, well, I just want to thank Mr. Hamid Bahad for coming. I'm very familiar with his work in downtown Los Angeles, everything that he did, the kind of vision, strategic planning, coordination, everything that he did to bring mixed use and just generally a better urban feel in the downtown area. So I'm happy he took the time to come to Glendale, and hopefully we'll be able to also work with him, and I know that Hassan is very familiar with his work, so just welcome to Glendale. Very glad to see you here.
Miguel? I have some comments to make. For the public to know, we got this thing in our handout. In the month of May, the Development Services website received over 9,245 hits from their web visitors. What I wanted to discuss more than anything else was the fact that over 1,954 of those hits dealt with Invest in Glendale, and 300 of that was to Hassan Aghani to deal with Invest in Glendale, and of course I think they wanted to know what the downtown specific plan is all about. On that aspect, it is my understanding that our planners just on Thursday got a set of the downtown specific plans guidelines, printed guidelines. There have been several architects and developers who have been going to the city trying to get a copy of our adopted downtown specific plan guidelines, and there isn't any. So what I like to know from staff somewhere down the line is it's not going to do us any good to have a specific plan that we cannot give to developers and architects, so this way they can at least find out what is our rules and regulations so they can design something according to those regulations. And I was surprised to find out that our staff didn't get it until last Thursday. So that's one of the items. And for for the people who are here, I just want to let you know, as I said last time, I refrained from attending the closed session dealing with the Hamidi project. I think that project is a very good project. I still think that should have been discussed in the open session, which would have explained to the public all the specifics of it, which after the public finds out all the specific of it, they would have known the merits of the project. But unfortunately, I was on the losing side. But as I said, I wasn't going to attend, so I did not. And based on that, I have absolutely no idea what took place, and I have no numbers or nobody gave me any documentation. Nothing has been shared with me. I'm pretty sure, and I just want to let the city manager know and the city attorney know, in the end of the day, if this item is voted on the dais, that information needs to become available, and I need to get that information before I vote. But until then, I understand closed session is sacred, and it's up to my colleagues to decide whether or not they want to make those information available. And so don't ask me anything. I know nothing at all. Mr. Starbuck.
Mr. Chair, let me help illuminate you at least a little bit. I've been authorized by the agency board in closed session to make the following statement relative to the proposal from the Amity Group. In closed session, the agency directed staff and representatives to continue to meet with the Amity Group to discuss, albeit negotiate further, the proposal that the Amity Group submitted for development of the Brand Wilson site and the Wilson, Maryland site. They're hearing that as you're hearing that, and we'll be meeting with them further.
Mr. Quintero.
Let me add that as the City Council, the Redevelopment Agency, and the Housing Authority has always done, at least the 6 years that I've been here, you negotiate in closed session, and then when the final negotiations are over and contracts are about to be signed, but prior to any contractual obligation, then the entire city will know exactly what's taken place. So there's nothing secretive about it. This is a process that I'm familiar with for the past 6 years. I didn't feel like making an exception for this particular project, so I'm sure in the next few weeks or months, however long it takes, we'll reach an agreement or not reach an agreement, and the entire city of Glendale will be well aware of what we've done and what the staff has done.
Mr. Chair? On that, I might note that, as Mr. Quintero indicates, under a number of you have a number of requirements prior to your ability to enter into an agreement, the likes of which the Amities have proposed with their project, not the least of which is what's called a 33433 report that gets into every detail of a prospective financing on a project and any subsidy required, as well as public hearings on a development agreement or a disposition and development agreement between the agency and the developer, not to mention any entitlement requirements for the site, all of which would have yet to be received and would be heard by the City Council in all likelihood. So there will be a number of public hearings statutorily required before this project, if it comes to fruition, would ever be finalized.
Okay.
Just to briefly follow up, I think, to reemphasize what agency member Quintero said, and that is no finalized action is going to take place in closed session. The direction to staff to continue negotiation is just that. Once that's completed, all of that then has to get voted on in public. Not just the finalization of the negotiations, but all of the required steps as outlined by Mr. Starbuck.
Okay. With that, any other comments?
Move to adjourn.
Second. We're adjourned for the agency. Okay. Oh, do we adjourn? Or yeah, we adjourn.
So we're going to recess for folks in the audience.
You're not going to do the joint? We're not going to do the Board of Housing.
It has been recessed already.
Do the business terms first and then come back with the design.
Because the housing is on
So,
here, too.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor, we should probably make an announcement that one of the closed session items that was noticed relative to what I'll call the Algermac project, we weren't able to conclude in closed session prior to this meeting, so we're recommending that you recess, go back into closed session, and have that conversation prior to taking up the public matter. And that will probably be, could be as long as 30, 35 minutes, I would expect.
So, don't all look so excited out there.